I'm Sal Sylvester, founder and CEO of Coachmetrix. I'm also founder and CEO of 512 Solutions Consulting Group, an executive coaching and leadership development firm. We built Coachmetrix because we needed it in our coaching business, and we couldn't find anything like it on the market. Coachmetrix is an online platform for coaches to measure results and track their engagements. You're a good fit for Coachmetrix if you meet the following criteria. 1, you're an executive and leadership coach who already has a thriving business. Most of our subscribers are industry leaders, industry veterans who already have a $500,000 or more business in annual revenues. Number 2, executive and leadership coaches who want to scale their business by measuring behavioral change and clearly demonstrating results in their coaching business. Number 3, our subscribers are tech-savvy individuals looking to leverage the advantages of a technology platform within their coaching business. Number 4, they are quick technology adopters who can leverage a detailed knowledge base to get started. And number 5, you're an even better fit if you engage stakeholders in your coaching process. Many of our subscribers are certified stakeholder-centered coaching coaches. Coachmetrix is not for you if you're new to the coaching industry, you're a therapist or a life coach, you're not interested in measuring behavioral change, or if you're looking for a platform to do everything in your business, from invoicing to calendaring to administration. We have purposefully kept this platform easy to use and with just the right features you need to measure change and track your engagement. Before I get into the demo, let me give you a quick overview of how Coachmetrix works. So in a typical executive coaching engagement, usually there's an assessment process up front, whether it's a 360 profile done online or a verbal 360 or personality style profile. The participant has time to reflect on the data. An action plan is created. That action plan is built right into Coachmetrix. There's a calibration process with the participant, the manager of that participant, and the coach. Coachmetrix allows you to send your action plans to anyone you choose. And then we can begin the ongoing pulse feedback process. And that's where Coachmetrix sends out some pulse surveys to supporters. These are stakeholders who are impacted by the leader's behavior. So Coachmetrix supports this entire process in addition to adding some efficiencies around the communication and tracking of your coaching engagement. All right, let's take a look at Coachmetrix now. When you sign into Coachmetrix, you'll see these horizontal tiles. Each of these tiles represents a project. A project could be a one-on-one coaching engagement with one leader or participant, as we call it in Coachmetrix, or it could be an engagement with multiple participants. It could be a leadership development cohort or even a team development cohort. I'm going to click on this engagement with Naya Williams. And when you sign into your project dashboard here, if the pulse feedback process has already started, you'll see that data show up. You'll see a tile for each of the participants on the project. And then you'll see a tile for the coaches who are on your project as well. You can have multiple coaches and assign them to different participants in the engagement. When I click on Naya Williams' tile, it takes me to her dashboard. There's some space at the top of the dashboard to be able to track coaching engagements. I'll get more into that in a little while. If her pulse feedback process has started, you'll see her specific data. I'll get back to that in one more moment. And then as you scroll down the page, you'll see some space for goals, adding supporters, and then on the right-hand side, some of the more recent activities with discussions and resources. So oftentimes what happens in engagements is after that 360 assessment is completed, either the coach or the coachee, the participant, will create goals. And we have a nice goals feature here in Coachmetrix where you can add goals. And as I just mentioned, that the coach can either add those goals or the participant. It really just depends on your methodology. The platform is designed for you to engage with your coachee or for you to use it without your coachee and simply track your engagements. To add a goal into the system, either the coach or the participant clicks on the Add New Plus button. You can add a high-level goal statement, a behavioral statement. This will ultimately become your pulse feedback survey item later on. And then there's room for any additional information for your goal. Oftentimes it's as simple as action planning or action items and some support that you need. You can also upload files or add any images or even a link to a video if you choose. As a coach, you can make some comments on these goals so that you can interact with your coachee in between coaching sessions or provide some feedback on how they can improve their goals in between your coaching sessions. Once those goals are in the system, it's time to add your supporters. Again, supporters are stakeholders. They are people who are impacted by the leader's behavior, and they provide ongoing feedback and feed forward to that participant. So it could be peers, it could be direct reports, it could be your manager, your boss's boss, it could be other people who are impacted by that leader. To add a supporter to the system, either the coach or the participant clicks on the Add New button. They enter the name of the participant as well as their email address. If you choose to include a welcome message, you can click on the welcome message box and then add your supporters. We always recommend that a participant verbally enrolls their supporters first before adding them into the system. That way they're engaged in the process, they know what the leader's working on, and they'll be more likely to respond to the pulse survey feedback that comes out throughout the coaching engagement. All right, once the goals are in the system and you've added your supporters to the system, now you're ready to begin what we call the pulse feedback process. To begin the pulse feedback process, click on the feedback link, and you can either choose to send out the pulse feedback in two different ways. You can send it out on demand by clicking this request immediate feedback button, or you can automate the pulse feedback process. To automate pulse feedback, click on the automate pulse feedback button, and you'll click on the enable automatic pulse feedback requests. And it's on this page where you can set the frequency, the number of days in between the rounds of pulse feedback. You can select the date where you want that first or next round of pulse feedback to go out. And then depending on the number of rounds that you set for that project and the scale that you've used, those automatic pulse feedback requests will go out. You've set it and forget it. They'll go out on the frequency and the dates that you've set. All right. Once the pulse feedback surveys go out, your supporters and participant will all receive pulse survey links. And as they start to complete those links, the data begins to show up on Coachmetrix. So in this case, Nia Williams is working on 3 different behaviors, as shown here. These were built in her action plan. We have 3 rounds of pulse feedback. And for this engagement, we're measuring on a 7-point scale from -3 to +3, where 0 represents no change. You can change that to a different scale if you want before that first round of pulse feedback goes out. So if you prefer a typical Likert scale of 1 to 5 as an example, you can use that as well. And as that data comes in, it shows up graphically here on this pulse feedback page. And then you'll also see the open-ended feedback and feed forward comments that the supporters provided along with the participant. There's both a self-assessment and a supporter's assessment, and those numerical scores show up over here on the right-hand side to really help that participant get a sense of self versus others' perception. Depending on your coaching methodology, you can choose for these settings to be anonymous as they are displayed here, or you can choose for those settings to be open. So if you actually want to show the supporters' names, those supporters' names would show up in this area of the pulse feedback comment area. All right, so far we've added goals into the system, we've added our supporters, we've begun our pulse feedback, and we're getting some measurement that's now showing up for Nia Williams. There are a number of other features in Coachmetrix to help you optimize your communication and track your engagements. So for example, we've got a discussions feature, which enables two-way communication between the participant and the coach, either party can initiate the conversation. To start a discussion, you click on the discussion button. We've got a really great feature where you can select different templates, or you can build templates and select those templates. So if you have repeatable communication, for example, if you send out a pre-message before a coaching session, you can build that once, build it as a template, select it as a template, and then you can change the participant's name, change the coach name, and send that or start that discussion. If you choose to, you can also schedule that discussion for a later date and time, and that discussion will be initiated at that later date and time. So if you do a really nice job of labeling your subject lines here, you get a great history of pre-messages and notes or checking in between coaching sessions. It's just a beautiful communication tool to optimize that communication between the coach and the participant. Whenever a discussion is started, or whenever a resource is sent out, or an assignment is sent, the participant gets notified via email, and the content of that discussion is inside of the email. The participant simply clicks on the link that's in the body of their email, and they're brought right into the thread of Coachmetrix. So that's the discussions feature. Another great feature that we have is up in our library. And inside of our library, you can build a series of resources, collections, assignments, and those discussion templates that I mentioned. You build them once, and then you can use them across all of your projects. So an example of a resource really is any combination of text, document uploads, images, and links to video on YouTube or Vimeo, as an example. So since I'm a big fan of Marshall Goldsmith, he has a tool called Daily Questions. This is an example of a resource where we just added some simple text. We created a simple document to capture this particular exercise. And then we've inserted just simply a link to a video of Marshall Goldsmith on YouTube. And then we've built that resource once. Now we can use that across all of our projects, and simply sharing it with any of the participants with whom we want to share that resource. But those resources, those collections, they live in our library, and then we share them across our projects as a coaching engagement emerges. Our collection features is really a logical grouping of resources. So you might use it as an example to create a welcome kit. Most coaching engagements start exactly the same way. Why not build out that engagement once and then use that across all of your coaching? So in this particular engagement, we've got a welcome letter. We have a welcome video. We have our coaching agreements in here, and then a few other modules that we've built that are part of our coaching process. Again, anytime there's a repeatable process in your coaching, it's a great time to use all of these features inside of the library. We've got an assignments feature and a discussions template feature. Again, so you can use those assignments across all of your projects. You can create those discussion templates once, and then they show up in that drop-down box that I showed you earlier with your discussions. So that's the library feature. We also have this great new feature that we call programs. It allows you to basically build out a template for your coaching engagements, and then to assign events within that program to people on your engagement. So for example, you might remember Naya. We just started a coaching engagement with her, and we've built out this program where there's an intake session, a number of coaching sessions, a 360 assessment, calibration, observation, final assessment, and a conclusion. If we're ready to share that program with her so we can track our coaching engagement, we just simply share that with our participants. Let's share that with Naya Williams. And let's say there are 8 coaching sessions in this engagement. There's 1 calibration with the manager, and there are 2 observation sessions. And let's say this conclusion piece is not part of the engagement. We just select the components that we built or the events that we built in the program. We add those events, and those events will now be shared with Naya in her project. So let's go back to Naya's project and see if those showed up. And sure enough, they're right here. And so the top 3 events or the most recent events show up here. I can edit and insert some dates. As a coach, I can add status reports that are status notes that are only available to me as a coach. All of those status reports can be downloaded in our reports function. So if you've got some status reporting with an executive sponsor, or you want to keep track of other sub-coaches on your team, this is a great way to do it. As you move through your coaching engagement and you finish some of those scheduled events, you can check those off and they'll show up on the events page at the bottom of the page so you can see how far you've progressed throughout your coaching engagement. So at a high level, that's Coachmetrix. You've got an events feature so you can track your engagement. You've got pulse feedback so you can measure behavioral change from not just a self perspective, but from your supporters' perspective. There's a goals feature that allows either the coach or the participant to build goals. The coach or participant can share that action plan with any stakeholders or supporters that they choose. You can add your supporters into the system. And then you can optimize your communication with Coachmetrix on your engagements through the discussions feature, sharing resources and collections, sharing assignments. You can take private notes as a coach, and a few other features to really optimize how you run your engagements. So thanks for joining me for this quick overview of Coachmetrix today. I'd invite you to take these next steps. Number 1, if you want to explore Coachmetrix in a little bit more detail, go online and create a free trial account. And when you get into that account, you'll find a great online user guide on every page of the platform. And it's packed with easy to follow steps, screenshots, and videos. So again, if you're a tech savvy coach, you'll be able to quickly pick up on how to use Coachmetrix. Step number 2, complete the form below for more information, and we'll send you more info on all of the features that Coachmetrix has to offer. And then step number 3, sign up for a professional services package if you need some support onboarding with Coachmetrix. Thanks again, and we hope to see you on Coachmetrix soon.